because we are not bullshitting, right? We
No.
believe in this.
We're
And
living
we're
it
not
every
trying
day.
to sell you anything. We believe in this. We live it, right?
Yeah.
This is why I like it. And I can, you see, I can talk about this like endless. Blah, 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 blah. In any directions, blah, 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 blah. In any angle.
Blah, 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 blah.
You want to be here talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing a reoccurring theme of, I would say, 3 pillars that I keep hearing you sort of talking around and messaging. And I wanted to try to make a formula from all of our conversations. So what do we actually need to fix? So the 3 kind of pieces that I'm seeing, and I want your feedback on this, I'm seeing a lot of conversation about what needs to improve with the message. It seems like, number 1, it's something around better communication of the business value or the ROI. That's pretty straightforward. Number 2, it seems like some conversation about the business systems to understand the difference between the new technology that you want and how it works with your old technology that you currently have. That seems like it's missing. And the third pillar that I've sort of picked up from our conversations is about risk, is about business risk, addressing the elephant in the room. What if this goes wrong? Is there a strategy? Is there a rollback strategy? Is there a hybrid mode kind of thing? I would just love your feedback on these, and maybe you can provide some thoughts on all 3 of them there. The first one was the business value or the ROI. It seems like nobody would screw this up. It seems obvious, but it seems like it's not. Do you want to say some words about that?
You know, like we talk about the concept that there's executives, they should be responsible on delivering the vision and the direction to the business, right?
Yeah.
What I also see quite a lot, that a lot of people on management position in the business, they don't understand even the concept of what the immeasurable outcome of management. Think about it. Like when you ask your team about what the measurable outcome of manager, what the role of manager, and it can go from really from the high level perspective executive up to the like middle management and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear like, oh, manager's supposed to do this and this and this and this. I would say this is tasks that managers supposed to do. We only need, and it's not just about manager, it's everybody in organization. We need to think about what the measurable outcome of every person. So manager, his measurable outcome is the result of work that he does and his team. So all that comes together to the message that we need to deliver and how we address the message and how we manage this. When we get this clarity and this understanding, then it kind of get translated also to the business, from the business to the technology. Because by the end of the day, when we will kind of take this chain and we'll get to the technology department, and we will ask them, what is measurable outcome of your activity? I don't want to hear like, oh, I need to be sure that my server will get patched. No, this is not a measurable outcome of your department. Your measurable outcome is the working backbone that allows line of business applications to do, to fulfill duties of the business department and craft a new offering and services and make business moving forward.
Yeah.
So there's big gap even from the positioning of the message and transitioning this message really from the top to every single person in the organization.
And it sounds like you're blaming both sides too. So if I'm a technology vendor and I'm selling a new technology to you, I'm not addressing these outcomes. I'm not addressing the ROI enough, but it seems like the company that I'm presenting to is not giving me the right information to understand what's important to them. What do they want for the outcome? So it seems like you should never point the finger and say it's one side, right? It seems like they both don't know how to talk to each other. Even the business side doesn't know how to communicate their own needs.
I wouldn't blame anybody. But for example, if we will talk about why I don't want to blame anyone, because blaming brings no value. Okay,
Right.
let's just face the situation and think how we address it. Okay, so for example, if we talk from the vendor perspective, many vendors and their sales teams, they just come and emphasize what their product brings to the table, the functionality of the product, like features of the product, blah, 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 all this bullshit, okay? I don't care what product we're talking about. If you really position your product from the angle of just technical aspect, I would call it bullshit message, okay? Business sometimes, yes, unable to articulate what they need. So the vendor comes and pushes the product and sometimes tries to explain how the ROI will work in this particular case, how a new licensing model benefits the financial department, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in many cases, business wants the vendor to interview them, if you will, about the problem.
Yeah.
They don't know that the discovery should be initiated by vendor. Sometimes they are unable to articulate the problem. Sometimes business just sees the problem or outcome of the problem. They even don't know the problem itself.
Yeah.
I'll give you one simple example. Business get compromised from the security perspective. So they will declare, oh, we get hacked and corporate data gets stolen. This is just outcome of the problem. It's not the problem that data gets stolen.
Yeah.
Right? So let's identify the problem. Why hackers were able to steal the data? What allowed or what didn't prevent hackers to get access to the data? We need to go in different directions. And business sometimes, they shouldn't think in a way that, oh, I need to identify. This is why they bring some vendors.
Right.
Please help us to identify the problem.
Yeah, but a lot of vendors in this situation, from what I've experienced, will say, we have a solution for you. We have something that we can give you that's going to improve your security, without actually going backwards and really identifying the problem, right? They'll say, oh, you have a security problem? Oh, we have a solution. It's going to do better this, it's going to do better that. I would think the first thing you should do, though, a good vendor, a good technology vendor would go back and say, let's understand this problem a little bit better. Let's peel the layers of the onions a little bit. Because I also think that if the vendor understands those extra layers of that onion when it's peeled, I think they're going to be able to better sell something, because they'll be able to position, here is really where you're at today from a problem. This is actually what caused it. We're going to do something that's going to fix this in some way, shape, or form. So it seems like it's a problem almost running the discovery meeting in this case.
Yeah, it's definitely the case. Sometimes, again, it's so complicated ecosystem. Some sales, they're just forced to go and push product, and they're just trying to sell.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're trying to reach their numbers. Okay, to get bonus, whatever.
Yeah.
some of them don't see this as a long run. They just, let's close the deal, that's it. Okay. We're lucky enough that it's not so many vendors like that, and not so many sales people like that. Okay. I don't want to say like labeled everybody like that. But I do see time to time this behavior, but I should admit it's not the common sense. Okay, here it's not
Right.
the mainstream. Okay, but still, unfortunately, in many cases, I hear things like, "Oh, we have a product. Here's the problems that this product solves. Do you guys have this problem also?"
Right.
It's not opposite. Let's study first the business. Let's study first what the challenges. Let's study, for example, why end users decided to find the workaround for the situation.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, the user adoption concept sometimes get ignored by many businesses, by many people. We can bring amazing technology to the to enterprise, amazing use case. We can craft and the like piece of the art from technology perspective, and then 6 months after that, figure out that actually end users don't want to use this technology,
Right.
and subconsciously they even sabotage the integration of this technology in the enterprise, and they do everything possible not to use it and use something else. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen situation not just once where enterprises spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on implementing this kind like enterprise level solution, and then they found that end users don't want to use this. And of course, the project labeled as failed. After like 3-4 months, they try to initiate, re-engage, and sometimes they even change the vendor because they blame the vendor that the implementation of the project was mistaken. Let's bring a new vendor with the new approach. A new vendor steps in and try to do almost the same.
Yeah.
And then we see again the failure. I know one particular use case where business spent more than $1 million on trying to implement a new ecosystem to the business. And end users, majority of end users, prefer to use 20 years old application and not to switch to the new one. And when we started the discussion, we started from the concept. We started to work in the business and talk to people what they love about this 20 years old application.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We wanted to understand why the user adoption is failing here. So sometimes we need to kind of, I would say, we need to leverage some sort of psychology to bring new stuff to enterprise. We need to understand what people don't like. Why they don't want to use this particular thing.
Yeah. I've always felt like one of the best frameworks for entrepreneurship and innovation is really to understand current state and future state, right? Like if you get deep information about the current state, which is things like why are you using it, how you're using it, understand what the alternatives are, because the alternative could be a competitor, or it could just be the I call it the nah factor, the nah, it's too much work, it's too much of a pain in the ass, the nah factor. But it seems like that's very clear. So I like to think of it from current state, future state, understand the difference between those two, then you plug in what you got. The second,
you know what, I would say simplicity is also important piece. What I mean by simplicity, Well, let's stick to the cybersecurity theme for a second.
Example,
Okay.
yeah.
When we talk about cybersecurity, and many enterprises kind of was in a position that where IT department comes and says, "Oh, you want to get access to the network when you travel? You have to use VPN."
Right.
Okay. But we really strong on a security part. You have to, we implement in two-factor authentication. So it's not enough that you will have just your own password. Here is a special device for you. And by the way, when you want to connect, you need to use this application, initiate this application, provide a password, then this device. And to activate this device, you need to remember another password. And when you see on the screen this number, you need to put some prefix that you need to remember. It's a nightmare. And I've seen many situations where people wanted to work from home.
Yeah.
They were in a position that they're like, okay, we will put our own time. We're willing to work extra just to do work. And they said when they heard all this stuff, they're like, forget about it. Of course, all this could be addressed on a technology level. We can enable two-factor authentication as a separate application on a mobile device where you just receive message where you need to click yes or no. Nothing else. And it's already second factor authentication. We've built once a use case and the client actually get to the point that I can call it three-factor authentication. It was really restricted ecosystem, and we need to be sure that we do everything possible to eliminate as much as possible risk of getting hacked.
Right.
So we embedded special solutions on each device that provided additional layer of security. And it was 100% transparent to the end user. So we introduced simplicity. Everybody was happy to use this capability. And yes, we used VPN. Yes, we used two-factor authentication. Yes, we had really secure channels. And yes, we had what I would say the most important piece, happy end users. By the way, when all this get built, after a month, we came back to the support team that provided end user support.
Oh, yeah.
We asked them one simple question. How many calls you guys received from end users regarding VPN connection? The reduction was almost 90%.
Yeah.
So it all depends like how we initiate even the project, how we run the project. It's not about technology sometimes. We need to study how people behave. So we need to be kind of psychologists, if you will, at some point.
I love that. I love that. I wanted to hit number 2 and number 3 here of my feedback, my interpretation of your message, and what's wrong with the message. Number 2 is about business systems, is about integrating new technology systems with old technology systems. Again, just like the business value, the ROI, the outcomes, this sounds obvious too. If I'm selling you something new, it seems like it's obvious to make an easy understanding and an easy solution of how my new thing is going to connect with your old things, your legacy infrastructure. Why is this conversation not happening? And do you agree that the lack of communication between connecting the new with the old is actually slowing down tech adoption?
I would say it's also mindset again. I'm fanatical on the mindset concept, right? I do see enterprises that their executive team works with the mindset, if it works, don't touch.
Yeah, right.
We just finished one big project, really big project, where we were migrating to the cloud from the technology that already 25 years old. Funny part that cloud vendor has no solution for the connectivity with so old ecosystem.
Right, right.
Old ecosystem is not like even vendor of the old ecosystem already not in a business. So I even don't want to talk about the risk that executives took on themselves to leverage application 25 years old without having decent support on it. Let's put even this outside of the conversation. So for us, it was a challenge how we build this interconnectivity between those two different galactics to allow smooth transition, because there's no way you can migrate from one state to another state overnight, especially in a big enterprise. It has to be some sort of hybrid mode, some sort of coexistence. So we needed to architect, design, and build this solution to interconnect those things. But what we heard from executives, they're like, yeah, it was amazing application. You see, it worked for 25 years.
Yeah.
I would say it makes more sense to do constant improvement as you go. It costs you less to the business overall. You constantly leveraging cutting edge technologies. You're constantly improving, your people happy, and you have less risk to the business. So I think that some enterprises, they kind of stuck in the past, and right now they have a fear how to integrate with the new stuff.
Yeah. Is there something that the new technology vendors can do to help them get unstuck? Because maybe the 25-year example is maybe not the most common, but it seems like it's really common in the enterprise that you have stuff that is too old. Too old could be 10 years, it could be 15, it could be 20 years, but you have some old stuff, you have some existing stuff. What should the new technology vendors do to help these dinosaur systems to advance? Is it largely in the messaging? Are they not saying the right things? Are they not speaking the right language? Or what are the pieces of that problem as it relates to kind of this gap that we're talking about?
It's quite tricky, I would say. Many new technologies and the vendors of the new technology,
Yeah,
they don't care about legacy stuff. They live in their illusion that business will switch to their new tech overnight. I don't know why. Like
full switch.
I do see this a lot. Full switch, bing bang approach, bam, over weekend, business shifted to our new amazing technology.
Right.
I do see this a lot, especially when we talk to the blockchain vendors, like companies that building the blockchain solutions, and they barely speak. Many of them barely speak about how to integrate with the legacy ecosystem.
I see this.
They just talk about all the benefits of the new tech, new solution, values, profits, everything, but they kind of missing the message how to integrate with legacy stuff.
Yep.
Okay, this is one. On another end, enterprises, because they have some, I would say it's quite common actually, look, many big enterprises, they still have applications and services that aged, really aged, like, why to go far? If you will search on the internet, I guarantee you will find this article. I don't remember the name of airport. I don't remember the city, but search for it, okay? Just from curiosity perspective. You will find that there's airports in the world that still leveraging technology from 1969 up until now. They're paying millions of dollars every year to the vendor to have ability to call their support center. This vendor has a stock of this old equipment from 1969 just to address the situation if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
I get scary when I get to airport with the thought that they might use technology from 1969.
You don't want to fly there.
I don't. But this is the case. And we have a lot of use cases like that. A lot of enterprises around the globe like that. They have something old that works, and they even don't know how to move on.
Yeah.
They feel themselves stuck, and they don't know how to move on. So they can start building new components, new ecosystems, and they always kind of band-aid solutions how to interconnect services around.
In this situation, what do you think? What would you tell them to do if you were sitting on their technology board as a translator?
Find a way to move on. There's always a way. Sometimes it might be painful, but find a way to move on. Do not accept the situation that there's no way to move on, that we have to use this 1969 technology.
Yeah.
No, right? There's a way to move on. Let's find how.
Yeah, this ties into the third and final point about the issue with messaging as it relates to the speed of technology adoption is about business risks, right? It's if I do it, what happens if it doesn't work? Maybe there's not a lot of use cases in my industry for this new technology yet. We want to be cutting edge. We want to try new things, but if we try it and something goes wrong, like I'm 60 years old and I'm going to lose my job and I don't want to start another career. So there's lots of challenges that happen there, right? What's your feedback about this situation? What is the problem and what should we do to fix the problem? How technology vendors communicate with enterprise about addressing the risk part of innovation?
We always need to keep in mind the risk, okay? Always. And as a professionals, we always need to come from the angle how we eliminate the risk or how we reduce the risk of doing anything. When you cross that street, it's a risk that you're gonna be hit by a car. So you do everything possible to avoid this. If you're looking around to find the underground path, you're looking for nearest pedestrian, right? Like you always, if there's nothing, so you try to be really cautious about checking from where a car comes, how fast you cross the road, all that stuff, right? This is kind of normal for us. We need to act the same when we talk about anything in life, not just like crossing the road. When we're in a business, when we talk about technology, okay? When we try to implement new stuff, new technology, we need to think about it. And yes, we need to bring the, how to even to say it, some sort of confidence to everybody in the business that there is here's the plan A, here's the plan B, here's the rollback. Here, it's not one-way ticket. There is a ways to address the situation. This is what we're gonna do if something wrong will happen. Like we need to take all those scenarios. We need to take risk into consideration, and we need to address risk. Okay. Unfortunately, again, talking about new startups, new techs, new products, in many cases, the message is lacking the big portion of related to risk.
Yeah.
Right? And this is probably one of the biggest challenges with the adoption of the new technology. The enterprises sometimes unable to understand what the real risk of switching to the new technology. So subconsciously, our brain on a DNA level, we wired in a way that if I don't know what to expect, I will do nothing in this case.
Right.
Many people think like that. So if I don't know what to expect, I rather do nothing. So this is kind of big challenge, and it probably like all 3 points that that we mentioned today. Look, all of them coming to the same, I would say, same fundamental message. It's all about messaging, how we communicate the message, how we communicate the desired outcome of the business, how we communicate the goal, how we communicate the measurable criteria of each part of the business, how we communicate the project, the value of the project, why we need to do it, how we communicate what we're going to do in a situation that we describe in the section risk management.
Right. Yeah.
So it's probably everything comes to some sort of communication.
Yeah. I'd
right?
I know you've told me this story before, but I think this is a perfect chance to for me to push you to retell it, because I think it's so fitting, because we have lots of conversations right now at DeepDive about how to increase the speed of adoption of blockchain technology in the enterprise specifically. So if we want to increase enterprise blockchain adoption, what do we need to do? And I think it ties a lot into the messaging and the conversation we just had. And I know that you're a big believer that we should study history, we should study the past to better predict the future. And you're always comparing the story in 2010, 2011, 2012, what happened with cloud, and you think it's the same shit as what you believe is starting to happen and will happen with blockchain. Could you tell the story of what happened in 2010 to 2012 with cloud as it relates to the messaging here to carry this conversation home?
Again, it's my observation, it's my opinion, right? My view on history. Back when clouds just started to kind of go live by many different vendors, and big vendors like Microsoft, like IBM, like Google, like Amazon. The message was the initial message to enterprises in some form, some shape was, oh, you need to migrate. It was a lot of documentation, how to migrate with the big bang approach. It was even written in the documentation, big bang approach. It was a documentation that were talked about, oh, if you can, your company this size up to, let's say, 300 people, you can go with a big bang approach. Adoption was almost zero. It was really slow adoption, because nobody wanted to take the risk of the big bang approach. What if the big bang failed over weekend? Now what? Monday. What are you gonna do? My business is not working. My people are unable to send messages. Like many things.
Yeah.
So adoption was really slow and painful, by the way, because the big bang approach was a big failure. Many companies failed. Many companies that actually did this big bang approach, on Monday, they started to use the new tech, new cloud, and then they were struggling for weeks after that until they kind of managed to stabilize the ecosystem.
So it wasn't
until
just the message, the actual reality is that the ones that did do the big bang, they struggled too.
They struggled. Like some of them struggled.
Wow.
Okay. So, and actually those that struggled, they started to push to the world a really negative message.
Right.
And then it started to be as a snowball, like, no, screw it. Fuck this cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. It was the belief, right? And a lot of technical people, evangelists, I remember myself like, oh, I don't feel comfortable to push clients to cloud, right? Because like my message was different around that. And many passionate, like really passionate experts about cloud who constantly wants a new tech, they were pushing aggressively, cloud, cloud, cloud. But again, adoption was almost like none. Then vendors realized, wait a second, it doesn't matter the size of the organization. Let's adjust the message and let's bring the solution also that allows enterprises to do stage migration, that allows enterprises to be in a hybrid mode, build the coexistence scenarios between what they have and what they're willing to use in the future, right? I remember we did one of the projects cloud integration without moving anybody to the cloud. We just build the integration with the cloud just to allow the enterprise leverage one small functionality that was available in the cloud. So we built all that coexistence scenario in hybrid mode without initiating the migration to the cloud at all. And then after about 8 months, business decided to start the migration. So when vendors brought this new message, okay, guys, almost no risk. You can work in coexistence scenario. Here's the hybrid architecture. This is how you can eliminate the concept of one-way ticket. You need to move back to the on-premises. You need to move to the cloud. No problem, do it. Then adoption started to go, like migration to the cloud was really like the hockey stick. Bam, crazy. Wow. Now we have probably what, 80% of enterprises already in the cloud in some sort, maybe even more than 80%. They use somehow cloud services. I would say we have the same concept right now with a blockchain adoption. If you'll take a look, like blockchain in general already exists for 10 years.
Yeah.
Of course, I would say probably last 8 years, blockchain was mostly focused on the cryptocurrency and mostly on the financial sector. Last 2, maybe 3 years, we started to hear more blockchain in enterprises, blockchain solutions, supply chain management on the blockchain, security, identity, you call it, okay? But when we take a look deeply on those scenarios and use cases, you're not going to find many examples how this new ecosystem gonna interact with the legacy stuff. And this is, I would say, one of the big roadblocks. Enterprises, they're willing to go with the new tech. They're willing. Majority of people, they're smart. They want to go with the new stuff, especially when it's really buzzwords. Everybody wants to sniff and understand. But sometimes they're like, okay, wait a second. How I even start? How I do pilot? Where is my POC? From how this POC going to be integrated with my ecosystem? Okay, I build a new POC, new MVP product. Now what? And this is where I believe we need to really emphasize how these new blockchain solutions will work in conjunctions with what we have today. How we build the solution in a way that the new blockchain solution works in parallel, if you will, with what we have right now. So for example, if you have line of business application that stores data in some sort of database, whatever, Oracle database, what we need to do to allow this line of business application without really changing everything overnight to store data in the same Oracle database and at the same time make some magic that this data will be available through blockchain as well. How we bring the confident level of executives that the moment when they have a blockchain ecosystem in place, it's not going to compromise the way the end user operates. By the way, end users shouldn't even know that business decided to shift to blockchain. Why?
That's true. That's true.
They don't care.
Yeah.
When you sit down in the taxi or Uber, whatever, you don't care what oil actually in the engine. You don't care what gas the driver put in, if it's special or if it's super or if it's premium. You don't care.
Great point.
You just want to be sure that you will be delivered from point A to point B to your destination. That's it. So people that work in a business and clients that consuming your products or your services, they just need to know that you can do this.
Yeah.
So, right? Yeah. So you as a business owner can come and say, okay, guys, here's Mr. Client. We're bringing to you new services and new capabilities. And by the way, we were able to do this because we started to leverage a new technology, new framework built on a blockchain. You can brag about this.
Sure.
But end user doesn't care if it's a blockchain or not.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, they don't care. They can appreciate that you use this, right?
Yeah.
And your business can grow because they appreciate it. So for example, if let's say you sell coffee, okay? And because you use supply chain management built on a blockchain, you can introduce much better transparency and the history of the old coffee beans that you sell.
And this turns into a marketing benefit, and you can argue it does have a benefit to the end user at that point, but a little bit less directly. But yeah, your example is very clear.
I'm as a customer when I'm in the store and I have 2 bags of coffee from 2 different vendors, and on one is printed, check the history of all beans in this bag, scan from your phone the application this barcode. I will do this just from curiosity perspective. And when I will see the history and all the chain, what happened with those beans,
you might pay more for that product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will buy it.
Yeah. You might even pay a premium.
So for example, when we go and try to buy eco-friendly products.
Yeah.
You usually nowadays, by the way, I don't understand why, but usually it costs more, right? But people pay.
Yeah.
Right? GMO free. Boom. It's a double price. And they pay.
Yeah.
We pay. Right?
So if you can add a story to it, then you can argue you're offering end user value.
But by the end of the day, it's still the same coffee.
Still the same coffee. Yeah.
So as an end user, you don't really care. You will enjoy and you might pay premium for this. But by the end of the day, you come to buy coffee. Okay. So this is why I say end users or end clients, they don't care what technology we use. But they do appreciate if they know that the new technology brings extra value to them. So this is kind of my angle. right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any
That's
final words, any final thoughts on your mind, man?
mind, man. uh, I do believe the mindset it's probably really important almost everywhere. Doesn't matter what we do in life. And when we talk about technology, it's important. When we talk about business, it's important. When we talk about life, it's important. Probably the most important thing that we need to learn as human is to control our mindset and control it from the level where we push ourselves to get something new constantly. So if we will start to live like that, that we always want to be better, it's a mindset, right? Mindset drives us. So when we will get to the level that whenever we wake up in the morning, we think, okay, what am I going to do better today? With this mindset, we will see that it reflects on everything what we do. If we do technology, if we introduce new technology, if we do business, like everything. I would say mindset is probably the driver of life.
I I agree. So I love how we talked about the gap between business and technology, and the final thought, we brought it all together.
Yeah. And it came to mindset.
Exactly, exactly. Awesome, man. Okay, I think I'm going to cut the episode there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode at the State of Innovation. If you got feedback, ideas, or possible next guests, send us an email at info@stateofinnovation.show. Check out our website for all episode history, www.stateofinnovation.show. We're available on basically all major podcasting channels, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and whatever else is out there. And join the conversation going down on LinkedIn. We'll see you in another one.